I was sitting there thinking, you're sticking with that motherfucker? Are you serious?
Tom probably had no desire to go to that team, but now it's like, why don't you want me?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. When I look back, I'm like, there's no fucking way I would have went to that team. But they said they didn't want me, and I know what that means. I know what that feels like, and I'm gonna fuck you up because of that.
That was Tom Brady talking about what happened in 2020. Mark Davis did an interview with Baron Davis on the Raiders Network, and here's a little clip of that. He's kind of going into the thought process.
He's a free agent, and we talked about him coming here to play quarterback, and obviously it was a tough decision for him, and he was close to wanting to come here, but the head coach and general manager decided they wanted to go in a different direction.
Yeah.
So we didn't sign him.
I thought he was supposed to be here.
So there you have it. Listen, there's a few things, right? Now, I normally don't like to go back and do revisionist history. There's a lot of positive things that are happening with Raider Nation, right? But, I wanted to address this. Yesterday, as you saw, Mark Davis dropped the interview with Baron Davis over there with the Raiders. Shout out to Baron Davis and shout out to that platform. And they kind of went back on, the whole Brady situation and how Tom Brady wound up here with us and revisited the issue with Tom Brady possibly being quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, when all of this happened, a lot of us, when we found out about it, were pissed because no matter how you might feel about, Derek Carr, no matter how nostalgic you might feel about John Gruden, right? Having the ability to go and bring in a player that is widely regarded as the greatest of his position in his generation, like Tom Brady, probably the greatest of all time, to come here is something that you just can't pass up. Now, I understand, right? On a surface level, you're saying, hey, Derek was younger. Tom Brady was older. He was at the twilight of his career. But as you can see down in Tampa Bay, a player like that coming into your organization and kind of acquiescing to some of his demands can be very transformative for your organization. Now, I don't know whether the Raiders would have won a Super Bowl with Tom Brady here, but what I damn sure know is that the Raiders definitely would have went to the playoffs, and we definitely would have rebuilt this culture, as you were starting to see now with Mark Davis bringing Brady in the building in another capacity. But I want to get into the biggest mistake the Raiders ever made, because the biggest mistake the Raiders ever made was not bringing Tom Brady in here. The biggest mistake that Mark Davis and the Raiders have made in the history of the Raiders was hiring back John Gruden. Now, hearing John Gruden and some of the things and the thought process behind some of the decisions he made when he was here is just absolutely horrendous, man. And it really angers me. And I really wanted to talk about that because, listen, Mark Davis at this point in his ownership, if he's learned nothing else, and this is just for me as a fan and punter of this team, Mark Davis knows more about this game than people think. And I know a lot of you guys are saying we're never going to win with Mark here as the owner. And I beg to differ. I think the biggest mistake that Mark Davis has made is not trusting himself, because he knew that was the right move to make, just like he knew it was the right move to have a guy close to him in the ownership box that understands the game on the kind of level that, close to what his father did. Now, I don't think there's too many people that ever walked this earth to understand the game in the way that Al Davis did. But if you're going to find anyone to have a football mind and have them in this office, it would be a Tom Brady. Now, if I'm being honest, and what I want to see from the Raiders going forward, I want to see Mark Davis trust himself. I've seen him, hire Antonio Pierce and listen to the endorsement of the fans and listen to, the players and people around him. When if he really wanted to hire Antonio Pierce, he would have just did it, right? He wouldn't have took him through the ringer and all of that. I really believe that the biggest mistake that Mark Davis has made is not trusting himself. And I hope going forward he does, because this is a man who grew up in this organization, grew up around the National Football League, and it is to the point now where the organization is starting to turn. And that dog that you heard that's in Tom Brady's voice, that dog and that competitiveness, that is something that you can't buy. You can't buy. And having Brady in the building, is and it hurts for me to say, with my pride as a fan, right? Hurts for me to say this, but you need that in this building. That's something that's been missing, man. And I'm glad that you have a guy like that in the owner's box. You have a guy like Max Crosby in his locker room that has that level of dog and competitiveness. And now we have a head coach that has that level of dog and competitiveness. So let's hope that things turn around, man. But I think I thought this was really, 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 really interesting, man. That mother effer that Tom Brady was talking about, he was talking about the Raiders, and he definitely was talking about Derek Carr, man. Hey, listen, guys, just my thoughts on this. If you could don't like, but I hope you do like the video. Hit that subscribe button. Raider Nation Unlimited. It's your man, Wasted Talent. I am out.